Today, Aries and I had a lesson with Lena. She wanted to work on getting him lighter and more responsive in the halter. Aries is quite strong, and he was starting to use his weight to barge around. Head away from Lena in an attempt to pull away from her, ignoring what she is asking. Wherever a horse's nose goes is where their body will go. In order to avoid a pulling match, which Aries will always win, Lena uses short tugs on the halter to tell him that what he is doing is not what's being asked. And here is an example of what we don't want to have happen. If Aries, or any horse for that matter, figures out that they can out-pull you, they will use it. And in the horse-human relationship, the human needs to maintain the leadership position, just as the lead horse does in a herd. I slowed this down so you could see more clearly what Aries is doing. Do you see how he is bulging out with his left shoulder? He has turned his head, but is still looking and walking away from the circle. Keep this image in mind as you watch the transformation that takes place as Aries learns to yield. Lena took a break from lunging to work on tossing a whip over Aries' back. Like most Mustangs, Aries is very suspicious of objects coming up from below. Since almost all that we do with horses involves reaching up to them, this is something he needs to learn is not dangerous. Yet another lesson is taking place. What you do with a horse at a standstill is wholly different from the same thing done in motion, and both lessons need to be learned. It's one thing to toss a rope on a horse when they are standing still. It's another to do it while they're moving. This is yet another example of Aries learning the difference between movement and movement with intent. Here you should start to be able to see the change Aries is going through. He's still trying to barge out of the circle on occasion, ignoring Lena's body language, but there are moments of understanding where he yields to the rope and follows a gentle arc around Lena. Now his whole body is starting to take on the bend of the circle. This body carriage is much more healthy for a horse than having their head up, back tense. As he does it more and more, you can see that he's figuring that out. Here Lena is explaining the difference between what Aries is doing, popping his jaw out at her, maintaining a straight and rigid body, versus what she wants him to do, which is to be submissive and give his nose, therefore creating a bend in his body around the circle. He is accepting the whip coming up from below much better now. It's not nearly as scary at a standstill as compared to when he is moving. Here you can see that he is now bringing his shoulders around the circle rather than just barging out with them. He is still putting the pieces together, but soon you'll see his eureka moment. And here he understands. Look at how soft his body looks as compared to earlier. He's still not totally relaxed, but his head is lower and his body is bent evenly on the circle. Lena takes another break and asks Aries to lower his head. He is appropriately suspicious and only gives to the pressure momentarily. But as she incorporates a neck massage, he starts to give in. This was really cool to watch. Aries dropped clear to the ground several times. I told Lena that Aries was still funny about his muzzle, but we have narrowed it down to that he is funny about his nostrils. She rubbed his chin and even got her fingers in his mouth, none of which he minded. Now look at this changed horse. It really was like he just said, "Oh, I get it." And rather than needing to be shown anything further, he took the lesson of give to the halter and offered a soft, round frame comfortably bent on the circle. This body position is so much healthier for him. The knots in his back and neck will start to work themselves loose now. Now that Lena had proper control over Aries' nose, she could direct him over obstacles easily and change directions easily. Now it was my turn. Took me a few tries to get the timing and aids right, but I work with my domestic gelding Picasso in this way, so it was pretty easy to get into that rhythm with Aries. Aries was so light and responsive. The trick now will be for me to keep him this way. Today we started off with a review of yesterday's lesson. Aries quickly remembered what he had learned. The lowered head position, the round back, the body bent on the circle. All signs of relaxation and the beginnings of self-carriage. Here he pops that jaw out at me and attempts to barge through the rope with his shoulder. A quick correction and he's back. He was initially unsure about the whip being tossed over his back while moving, but rather than stopping, I just kept asking him to go forward, and he figured it out. I got my fingers in his mouth as well and felt around. Horses have incisors, canines, and molars, just like we do. They also have small teeth in front of their first molars. These are called wolf teeth. They are right in front of the first molars, right where the bit sits. If a horse is going to learn to wear a bit, they have to be pulled. I also got a rope around his barrel and pulled on it, just to see what he would do. He wasn't real pleased and was frankly suspicious, but he did not kick or try to run away. He is getting much better about letting me pick up his front feet and holding them for longer. I am also tapping his foot with whatever I have in my hand so that he gets used to that feeling and the sound. Next week it is supposed to rain. I am hoping that after a couple of days his feet will be soft enough so that I can trim them. Yet another satisfying week finished.